What up, y'all? This is Patrick Hayes, and today what I want to talk about is 7 key skill sets for the future of humanity. Now, in case you haven't noticed, the world is getting crazier and crazier. Things are moving faster and faster, and while a lot of beautiful things are happening and a lot of amazing things are happening, at the same time, a lot of crazy, catastrophic things are happening. And it's exponentially moving in both directions. So what we have is a situation where things are getting extremely chaotic. And I feel like there are some really important skill sets that are necessary for us, both as individuals and as a collective, to start honing in on if we plan to be able to navigate this chaos in a way that helps us move to a more stable, more harmonious future. Now, I'm not in any way saying like doom and gloom, everything's going down, or it's going to be, terrible or horrific. But what I am saying is that there's going to be a lot of struggles and challenges that we go through as we figure out what we're doing here. If we are going through a metamorphosis, which is what it feels like humanity's going through, we can kind of think of it in the sense of like a mother giving birth to a child. When that happens, it's a chaotic, crazy experience, right? And if you were to walk upon it and you didn't know what was actually going on, you might think that it was actually some sort of crisis or a negative thing or something that was really destructive. But actually it was a new creation. I feel like that's what we're going through as a whole in humanity right now. There's kind of like a new birth happening. And as a result, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. So I feel like in order to navigate through this chaos and this craziness in the most eloquent way possible, it's important for us to hone in on and work to develop certain skill sets that will help us during the transition. Now, there's probably hundreds of skill sets that we could develop that would help with this. But what I wanted to focus on in this video was like meta skill sets that are more fundamental, that help us across a larger spectrum. So, you would need a certain level of meta skill sets or prerequisite skill sets in order to do certain tasks. Like in order to walk, you need to develop balance and you need to develop depth perception or awareness of spatial orientation. So these kind of skills are needed in order for you to walk. So the skills I'm going to be talking about today are more of like these fundamental skills that help us across many different spectrums of learning. Okay, so number 1, presence. And presence is huge because this is basically our ability to become present to the moment, to become aware of what's going on around us, and not to collapse too much into one perception or another perception or one area or another area, but actually to be more omni-aware, to kind of sit there and not be distracted by our emotions, not be distracted by our thoughts, but just be present for whatever's actually happening. And this is going to give us the capacity to see things clearly. So presence is huge, and this is a major skill worth developing. So working on mindful meditation, doing different breathing techniques, different mantras, all these things can help us learn how to cultivate our capacity for presence. Okay, number 2, adaptability. And this is huge because adaptability is something we're going to need to develop more and more in order to navigate the faster and faster changes that we're experiencing. Technologically, things are changing exponentially. Our environments, our social environments, our political environments, everything is chaotic and everything is changing faster than we can even track. Meaning our environments are going to be changing. And it's important for us to be able to be adaptable so that we can find the rhythm of whatever's going on in our environment and adapt to that. It's like if we're in the ocean and there's a bunch of waves coming, if we can't adapt to those waves, then they're going to pummel us. So adaptability is a skill that's really, really crucial for the future of humanity. You can practice this skill by going into environments that you're not familiar with and figuring out how to adapt to those environments. This is a great exercise. Go somewhere that's somewhat chaotic that you're not used to. Obviously, use reason, don't do something that's not safe, but put yourself in situations that you're not used to and work on your skills of adapting in those situations. Because this is going to be a major, major tool that's going to be useful for you in the future. Okay, number 3, this is focus or attention span. And this is super, super important because right now we are in the midst of an epidemic of attention span deficit. What is going on right now with social media is that people are completely losing their ability to pay attention to things for more than a few seconds because of the way that these infrastructures are designed online. And as a result, people don't really have the capacity to finish projects or think things out clearly because they're so used to being stimulated all over the place and being pulled in different directions that they've lost their attention span. And this is a major, major skill that's going to be extremely important for us as humans if we want to actually be able to solve some of the problems that we're faced with. Because if we don't have the ability to actually sit and think something through or actually look at all the pieces and try to put them together to make sense of what's going on in our reality, we're not going to be able to solve problems and we're basically just going to be stuck even deeper in chaos. And this goes beyond just like some crazy chaotic environment, because this is like an everyday thing, right? Think about the kinds of people that actually are successful in the world. Successful people in the world are people that have an attention span so that they can work on a project and then finish a project and then go and give that to the world. And then the people that don't have attention spans oftentimes get taken advantage of by the people that do have attention spans. So you have all these people selling stuff to people that have no attention span and are just kind of impulse buying and being pushed around by their distractions. So being someone with an attention span that has the ability to focus on something and finish things, maybe sit down and like actually read a book all the way through, puts you in a powerful position for the future. Okay, number 4. This one is beginner's mind or humility. And beginner's mind is basically being able to approach something as a beginner. Being able to approach something from a perspective of, you know what, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to try to act like I know. I'm not going to try to pull from old toolkits that are built for something else and try to apply those tools to this new novel thing that is foreign and alien. Because if we try to do that, we're going to basically be using the wrong tool for the job. What it requires us to do when we're faced with extreme novelty and things we haven't experienced before is be humble, right? And admit to ourselves, listen, I'm new to this. Have the humility to let go of our old beliefs or our old opinions or our old ideas about what's going on and actually move into beginner's mind and start fresh and say, you know what, I'm just going to observe here and start discerning the differences and patterns of the different things that I'm seeing. Okay, number 5, communication skills. And this is obvious, but it's so crucial at the same time because our capacity to work together as humans is directly dependent on our communication skills. And what we need now more than ever is to unite as kind of like a collective intelligence. Ideally, you know, as a one world collective intelligence, but in the present moment, especially as different nodes of coherent intelligences of groups of people that work together to make sense of and to balance out some of the chaos that's going on in the world. And in order to do that, we're going to need to be able to really communicate effectively with each other. So developing our communication skills, whether that be expanding our vocabulary, expanding our understanding of collective psychology and human psychology, developing our articulation skills so we can explain what we're actually experiencing and what we're seeing, all these things are super, super important for the future of humanity. So communication skills are huge. Okay, number 6. This is really tied to communication skills, and this is our collaboration skills. Again, like I said, we need to come together as collective intelligences. We need to come together and work as groups of people, right? This is kind of like the individual cell needs to become part of a multi-celled organism, right? We need to actually unify. And in order to do that, like I said, we need to communicate, but we also need to know how to collaborate. Because even if our communication skills are amazing, if we don't know how to collaborate, meaning we don't know how to work as a group, we don't know how to swallow our pride and realize when we're not the one that should be leading here, let someone else lead, when we don't know how to truly listen to other people and look for how we can help the group as a whole, as opposed to just, you know, put ourselves in the position we want to be in just for our own individual sake, then our communication skills are not going to be used in the most effective way. So collaboration is really, really huge. So if you're one of those people that only works well alone, you don't work well with other people, it might be a good thing to start looking at different projects that you could collaborate on with people and start developing your skills of collaboration. Because what we're going to be facing and what we're already facing are situations that are so complex and so new and so different, and it's just getting faster and faster and faster, that if we don't learn how to collaborate and work as groups, no one person is going to be able to make enough sense of what's going on in the world to actually be of greatest service. And when we come together as a group and we create synergy, then we can collaborate to make things happen and to make sense of the world in a way that we could never do otherwise. Okay, now the last one is number 7, and this is emotional stability. And this is super, super, super important because, you know, just like if we have a scattered mind and we're not present to the moment, then we're going to be experiencing and perceiving our reality through the filter of that scattered mind. Meaning, whatever we're thinking about in the moment, it could have nothing to do with the actual situation that we're in. But if we're thinking about it and we're in the situation that we're in, then we're perceiving the situation that we're in through the filter of whatever we're thinking about. And this is the same thing with the emotions, right? If we're having an emotion that is imbalanced, and we're in an environment where we're trying to make sense of the reality, then we're experiencing that reality through the imbalance of that emotion. So learning how to bring ourselves into emotional balance is super important to help our clarity. And this is a part of presence, right? So you need to be able to learn how to balance your emotions so that you can come into presence and see things clearly. Everybody knows that when you're in a chaotic or frustrated or angry or upset state, that you don't make good decisions. And what we need from humanity right now is to make good decisions. We need to be clear, we need to be aware, and we need to be able to make good decisions. So this means doing your emotional work. This means taking responsibility for your emotions. This means learning how to modulate your emotions by doing different meditative practices or different positive thinking practices. So when you need a particular emotion in a particular moment, that you can call upon that emotion. And when your emotions are unstable, you know how to bring yourself back into balance. Okay, so this list could probably go on for a really long time, but I needed to keep it to a somewhat reasonable number, so I broke it down into 7. But this is a conversation I want to keep going. So if you have anything to add to this discussion, please put it down in the comments. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you want to be notified about the next video or my future coming videos in general, go ahead and hit the bell button and let me know if there's anything else regarding this topic that you would like for me to cover. So thanks so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Hayes, and I'll talk to you next time. One love.